Today, we are witnessing an event that, years from now, will be remembered as a point of no return. The World Economic Forum in Davos 2026 has officially begun, and at first glance, everything seems familiar. Snow-covered Alps, smiling politicians, speeches about cooperation, sustainable development, and the need for dialogue. But it is this year that the outward appearance finally ceases to match the real substance. In Davos, abstract ideas about the future are no longer being discussed. Here, mechanisms for managing the present are being formalized. If in the past the forum was a platform for exchanging opinions, now it is becoming a headquarters for implementing concrete decisions that will directly affect every person on the planet in the coming months. Formally, the US delegation led by Donald Trump is taking an active part, and public attention is deliberately being shifted toward loud but secondary topics. You will be fed news about Greenland, about fluctuations in silver prices, about the latest trade conflicts and demonstrative political gestures. However, the real agenda was formed in the shadow of these headlines and had been prepared long before the forum began. The actual architect of the forum was a man who was not elected by the people, did not take any oaths, and does not deliver fiery speeches about democracy. This is Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock, a corporation managing assets worth about $14 trillion. For the first time in history, the largest holder of global assets received the official status of co-chair of the forum, and with it, the ability to directly determine which decisions would be considered inevitable and without alternatives. This is not just a change of faces, it is a change in the very nature of power. The era of ideologists and theorists has finally given way to the era of capital managers. If previously the key figure in Davos was Klaus Schwab, who embodied the concept of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, now philosophy is no longer needed. All those ideas that for years were presented as hypotheses and scenarios are now being translated into concrete regulations, protocols, and technical standards. In 2026, the architecture of global governance will officially pass into the hands of those who control financial flows, supply chains, energy, food, and data. Larry Fink personally oversaw the preparation of the forum, from the composition of the panels to closed-door meetings without protocol or press. It was at these meetings that documents were drafted which, by the end of the year, would form the basis for decisions made by central banks, national regulators, and governments. The forum's official motto, which appeals to the spirit of dialogue, seems like a mockery to those who understand that there is no dialogue here at all. There is a directive, and there is the necessity to carry it out. The 5 official topics that will be discussed publicly serve only as a showcase, behind which work is underway to create a unified digital infrastructure of control. While cameras capture handshakes and group photos, behind closed doors, a project is being approved that could be called a new type of digital prison. This is not a metaphor or a conspiracy theory, but a set of technical solutions already ready for implementation. We are talking about a system in which every economic, social, and even biological unit will be digitized, classified, and linked to centralized databases. In this system, money ceases to be yours, documents stop being a guarantee of rights, and access to basic services becomes conditional and reversible. The key element of this structure is the digital euro. In Davos, representatives of the European Central Bank, led by Christine Lagarde, officially announced the transition to the phase of immediate implementation. The year 2026 was not chosen by chance. By that time, the infrastructure for pilot projects is ready, public opinion is exhausted by crises, and the political will has been formed. The European Parliament will have to approve the final legislative package, which will turn the currency from a neutral means of exchange into a tool for directly controlling citizens' behavior. The main feature of the digital euro lies in its programmability. Unlike cash, which provides anonymity and freedom of use, digital currency allows conditions of use to be embedded in every unit of code. Money acquires rules, restrictions, and an expiration date. Under the pretext of crisis management, the state gains the ability to stimulate or suppress any forms of consumption. If the economy needs a boost, the funds in citizens' accounts can be time-limited, forcing them to spend more quickly. If demand needs to be reduced, certain categories of spending can simply be blocked. Within the framework of the climate agenda, which is actively promoted in Davos, digital money becomes a tool for personal carbon accounting. Purchasing airline tickets, fuel, meat, or electricity will automatically be correlated with your individual quota. Exceeding the limit means the transaction is declined. No bans on paper, no need to explain the reasons. The system simply does not process the payment. All of this is presented as caring for the planet and fighting global warming, but in essence, it is the creation of a mechanism for micro-regulating everyday life. Under the same pretext of combating money laundering and financing illegal activities, every transaction becomes completely transparent to the regulator. You will be repeatedly told the mantra that if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. But the reality is that transparency becomes one-sided. The state sees everything about you while you have not the slightest idea how exactly your data is being used and interpreted. An algorithm error, a change in political course, or a new regulatory interpretation can instantly turn a law-abiding citizen into an offender without trial or investigation. In parallel with digital money, Davos is also establishing the second fundamental element of the new system, a digital identity based on a wallet. The year 2026 has been officially declared the breakthrough year for the European digital identifier. It is being presented as a revolution in convenience, as a way to get rid of paperwork and endless verifications. Passport, driver's license, medical records, diplomas, tax number, and access to bank accounts are all combined in a single application. At first glance, this seems logical and even appealing, but it is precisely in this unification that the key danger lies. A single digital ID becomes the sole access point to a person's entire life. Losing or having this access blocked effectively means disappearing from the system. By 2026, without a digital identity, it becomes impossible to rent housing, book a hotel, buy a SIM card, access the internet, or use medical services. All these processes are tied to a unified infrastructure managed centrally and automatically. The most alarming element of this system is the built-in instant shutdown mechanism, the so-called kill switch. If your social or behavioral profile, calculated based on your transactions, movements, statements, and contacts, drops below a set threshold, the system can block your digital identity in a matter of seconds. This is not punishment in the classical sense. It is exclusion from the economy and society. Your money is frozen, your documents lose their validity, and your access to services is cut off. In such a reality, obedience ceases to be a matter of belief or morality. It becomes a condition for physical survival. You either follow the prescribed patterns of behavior, or you end up outside the system, where it is impossible to meet even your basic needs. Examples of this approach already exist, and they are being carefully studied in Davos. China, as a pioneer of the digital yuan and the social credit system, is seen not as an exception, but as a prototype. Footage showing people cut off from the digital economy, unable to pay for housing, food, or transportation, is often dismissed as local excesses. But in reality, this demonstrates what a world without cash and alternative access channels looks like. A person disconnected from the system instantly loses their economic agency. They can't work because they can't receive payment. They can't rent housing because they can't pass digital verification. They can't even leave because transportation services are also tied to the same digital ID. The key point is that the system operates preventively. It doesn't wait for you to commit a crime or formally break the law. It assesses the likelihood that you might become a problem, and if that probability seems too high to the system, it starts restricting your opportunities in advance. At first, it's gentle, almost unnoticeable. You find it a bit harder to buy a ticket, loans become slightly more expensive, and there are a few less available services. But with each step, the space of your freedom narrows, and it becomes increasingly difficult to get out of this corridor. In Davos, this model is being studied closely not as something exotic, but as a ready-made solution. Western elites are well aware that it is becoming increasingly difficult to govern complex societies through traditional institutions. Democratic procedures are slow, public opinion is unstable, and crises require quick decisions. Algorithmic governance seems to them like the perfect solution. It is efficient, it is scalable, and most importantly, it is impersonal. Responsibility can always be shifted onto the system, the model, or the calculation. This is precisely where digital money, digital identity, asset tokenization, and autonomous artificial intelligence agents all come together. All of these are elements of a single architecture. Money becomes a tool for behavior, identity, a key to access, and property, a conditional permission. In such a system, there is no need for mass repressions or loud prohibitions. It is enough to simply change the parameters. Autonomous artificial intelligence agents play a special role in this world. Officially, they are created to increase economic efficiency, to automate processes, and to reduce costs. But the elites are well aware that autonomy comes with risks. An artificial intelligence capable of acting independently might start optimizing for goals other than those it was assigned. Therefore, the decision made in Davos seems logical from their point of view. Every artificial intelligence must have a digital owner linked to a specific person through a digital ID. This means that any mistake, any action by artificial intelligence deemed undesirable is automatically reflected in the person's rating. You can no longer say that it was the program, that you didn't control the process. In the digital system, responsibility is absolute and indivisible. And if your rating drops, not only do your personal opportunities decrease, but so do the capabilities of your entire network of digital assistants. Not only can your access to money be cut off, but also to the tools that allow you to work, earn, and interact with the world. This is how a closed loop of control is formed. Algorithms monitor behavior, ratings determine access, and tokens record rights. The 56th meeting in Davos becomes the moment when all these elements are brought together for the first time into a single structure and receive political blessing. This is not about the grand signing of a single document. It is a series of coordinated decisions that will be implemented gradually under various pretexts and at different paces. But the direction has been set, and there is no longer any doubt about it among those making these decisions.